Welcome to the Delmar Medical Devices podcast, hosted by Robert Mowry. In this episode, Rob will interview the founder of Clinical Notes AI, Ross Young.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Mowry, and I lead this organization called the Delmar Medical Devices. And we're a collection of doctors, dentists, and life science investors that invest in life science companies within 100 miles of Delmar. We're largely congregated here in the San Diego area, and we do what we can to uplift the region through write-ups, interviews here on the podcast, using our connections to get a little bit of press for deserving companies and projects. And we see it as a way to give back, and because we love the technologies. Medical technologies have a way of directly changing people's lives. And while normal technology plays are interesting and can increase productivity and are just downright cool, medical technologies have the real potential and history of extending people's lives, extending the quality of their life, and doing incredible things that we thought even 50 years ago were not humanly possible. And they're not. It's through the magic of science and so many miraculous scientists that have dedicated their lives to advancing their niche of the field. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and follow the work that I do on our Substack, delmar.org, or through Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're listening to this. So on this first podcast, we will be interviewing the CEO of Clinical Notes AI. And the idea here is that we're seeing a radical disruption in the healthcare space as it relates to writing notes. And everyone will take a time after an appointment to write out notes. What if you could spend that time focusing on the patient? What if you could free up your staff from having to stare at a computer screen for hours on end, to button up notes that send off to an insurance company with the hopes that they would accept something you submit? And companies like Clinical Notes AI have leapfrogged the ability to have notes be essentially centralized, summarized, put into a format that they know will get approved by insurance. And as the initial reports have indicated, free up 70% of the time of the staff, which amounts to savings for the physicians or dentists, less burnout for the workers that are there that are able to focus on more high-level tasks or being helpful directly to customers, leading to more retention. And it's just an overall win. So here is my interview with the CEO of Clinical Notes AI.
Now let's jump right into the interview with Rob and Ross Young of Clinical Notes AI.
I saw that you've been doing some speaking around it, and then you're profitable and you haven't taken any outside capital. So you've been running this thing like lean, mean machine from the get-go from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, we just got to over 2024 to 2.2 mil in less than a year, and then we're doing well. I got 10 staff profitable right now, and we got quite a few million in the pipeline, and it's looking very promising. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait or see if I even need to.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good understatement. I remember you came from the world of EdTech. So remind me, like, you saw this need. Of course, I saw you had a number of people that you saw could benefit from it being from this world. And that was like the origin story behind spinning it up, from what I remember, right?
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, I led the previous company to, we raised a bunch and we got us to 100 million in ARR in 5 years.
Right.
I saw this major need. Basically, school psychologists were being required to do Medicaid documentation. It was getting in the way of access to care. We built a prototype for them to do their notes in a Medicaid compliant way and fine-tune an AI model for them. And then I went viral, and then I sold my position at that company, and then founded Bits. And since then, we've started to get really into the enterprise of the behavioral health space and some physical health as well. And so, yeah, it's really taken off.
What's been your day to day? Just building the relationships, educating people on how it works and how they can help them do their job better?
Yeah, I'm on a lot of large sales demos. We got partnerships going. We built a software development kit for EHR systems. So EHRs with a couple lines of code can have our ambient scribe technology directly in their EHR and a white label, getting access to tons of customers that way. So that's been, yeah, just literally founder-led sales and recruiting and building process. I found a repeatable business model, and now I'm doubling down on it.
Are most people still in the dinosaur age with a lot of this stuff, or are people?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yes.
Is it like, are you having to educate them a lot, or is it like incrementally? How does it work getting them from 0 to 1?
Yeah, in the very beginning, absolutely. They were scared of it. They didn't know what it was doing, what was going on with the data. So we made it super transparent, and we have lots of onboarding guides and whatnot. But now the word's starting to get out. So the early adopter stage is starting to come to an end. And now you're starting to see demand for this category, and they're more open to it, somewhat understand it. And yeah, we're starting to see demand. So, like, for example, there's around 4,000 very large enterprise behavioral health orgs. It's less than 5% of those organizations that are using this category, but it's expected to be 100% saturation. So we're super early, right? That's just in the community behavioral health space. So you're starting to see a lot of demand.
Why are so many clinics and hospitals still using fax machines and like really old technology? Are they getting with the program, or is just the comfort level there with what they know?
I think the comfort level with what they know is that they know they need to move, but there's the change management can be tough. But the thing is, there's so much pain with what we're solving that it's accelerating. Like, we just did a deal with a pretty decent sized organization in 2 weeks from demo to purchase. So they're accelerating right now. I think we're really going to see that a feeding frenzy here over the next year. So they want to move there, definitely. It's just a matter of how and considering the risks and making sure the outputs are right and that type of it.
I remember in the early days of AI that you would have to train a lot of the software to detect like complicated words, but now it's just nailing even multisyllabic technical terms. And are you seeing just what you're bringing in from the API connects or however you're getting the models in, that it's word perfect when it's being dictated, or how quickly are you seeing improvement?
I've seen improvement very rapidly. I mean, we're using some RAG, and we're also fine tuning models. We have over 25 models in our manifold. So we'll apply those to different field types and whatnot. But for pretty deep medical like terms and whatnot, we're using like Google MedLM, for example, and things like that. So we're mostly API, but we have some like private model stuff as well.
Wow. What do you think, this is a case of first mover advantage where you get people comfortable with what you're doing and build that relationship, or just get in front of organizations that weave it in there? Or what's your strategy going to be for this new year to continue to double down your success?
Yeah, I think right now it's trust and the field. It's a very new field. So what we've done is we just hired a bunch of industry experts that know the space cold, and they're getting us in the right circles, at the right conferences, at the right speaking events, all that stuff. So right now we're on a credibility push big time. And there's one in my specific niche on what we're doing. There's one leader that has raised 120 million since November, and we're beating them head to head now, but they're paving the way as first mover, and we're another option that's really starting to be considered. So that's what I'm seeing right now.
I saw that you work with a lot of like psychologists or psychiatrists or people that have smaller offices, but for a larger environment, is it the actual doctors that are making the decision to use this, or is it someone that's running the office, or who's like a decision maker ultimately that you want to get in front of and impress?
Yeah, it's typically it depends on the size of the organization. We're talking enterprise. It's a clinical director team, the informatics teams, and yeah, and the financial teams is really what we're seeing. Because there's one of the things that we get into, and a major door opener for us is what they're already spending on documentation. We bring to them and we say, look, how many clinicians do we have across the organization? Let's say it's 100, okay, or 200, whatever. And then what we talk about is what is the average salary across the board? So let's say it's $80,000, $90,000, et cetera. It's already documented with research that they're spending around 30% of the time on notes and documentation. In Access, they have wait lists up to wazoo for patients, and a lot of these ones that are like community-based and things like that. We can say, hey, look, you're already spending $2.5 million a year just on doing documentation. Right. And by showing this, essentially, we can reduce that. And we have some studies that are about to come out, but by roughly 70%. Yeah. So you look at the ROI on that right out of the gate, it's massive, right? So that's huge for us. The other thing is being able to see more patients or increase caseloads with less cognitive load, and then also turnover. So HR is involved in this. There are a lot of difficulties in recruiting clinicians today, right? Hyper competitive out there. So offering this technology makes them more competitive in that regard. And the other thing is payers are moving the goalpost on documentation requirements. Payers know that if they require one documentation for a specific diagnosis, that's going to affect access to care, and they have to pay out less of the premiums that they're collecting. So that's really big as well. So by us locking in compliance, by basically helping them fine tune the model specific to their organization, and they can scale that across the board, and all the providers need to do is provide care. And then all their insurance, compliance, et cetera, employee satisfaction just goes through the roof. So it's a no-brainer in a lot of cases.
From that moving the goalpost, do you see insurance companies not liking this because they can hit whatever word count or whatever additional hurdle that they're trying to institute? Or are they receptive because they're getting it quicker and it's cleaner?
Yeah, there's nothing really out on that yet, but I think it's going to be regulated and required that if you do use AI, it has to hit certain quality benchmarks around accuracy, around individualism, et cetera, hallucination percentages, things like that. So we're right now getting the ISO 42001 AI standards built all the way through our products. And we measure all that stuff internally as well for outputs and clinical accuracy and clinician in the loop, those types of things with the AI, so that when it does come around, that works. But what's happening today, for example, is a lot of clinicians, they copy paste their notes are not individualized. So then when the payer comes in, they go, hey, these aren't individualized notes or documents. We're not paying for this, or we're going to claw back all that we paid out already. The thing about the AI is it's super individualized and accurate. We're even sending context in the original treatment plans and requires out of the ICD requirements to the AI before it writes that next note and looks for evidence of the clinician providing the proper care based on guidelines in the note or document. So it's a super quality note or document that aligns with what's happening and the standards that they wrote. I haven't had any pushback on that yet, but the compliance is through the roof on that. But I think what's going to happen is margins are going to hit, denial rates are going to go down, and the insurance companies might balk a little bit, right? So we'll see what happens with that.
If you're getting a kickback when it's being used, is it just related to semantics or a word being misspelled, or is there a single thing that insurance companies to focus on that your software helps with, or you're probably really deep in the weeds on looking at what ultimately gets kicked back on these reports that are sent out?
Yeah, what happens, so in the behavioral space, it is ambiguous sometimes on what's called levels of care. Behavioral gets challenged way more than physical health. And what insurance companies do is they do what are called peer-to-peer reviews or step-down level request and care. So say you're in residential opioid addiction treatment or something, right? They're going to go, this client's showing enough progress for them to go to outpatient. And then they deny the care to the facility. So they have to get on the horn and write documents and reports summarizing every symptom, all the behaviors, the family history, risk of relapse, all these things to make the argument to the insurance company that they need residential care. That's so time consuming. So we're writing those documents for them to help them make the arguments to be able to get coverage for their clients. That's a massive benefit of what we're doing. And we're seeing more days authorized in higher levels of care, which means more money for our provider organization. We're on the provider side at this particular point, right? To help them remove barriers for care for the clients that they have and see.
If someone isn't using your product right now and they're trying to somehow integrate AI or somehow speed up their automation, say they don't have a team or really anyone to help them, they're just going through and clicking a lot of boxes and trying to brute force it, or what have you, of the people that,
You're talking about our onboarding?
no, just people that are trying to use AI independent of your platform and ultimately switch over to what you're doing?
Yeah, they're using like random chat GPT questions about stuff, so back and forth. Or they're using some independent clinician AI thing where they get some note and copy paste it, but it doesn't understand the patient. It's just independent, only summarizing an isolated event. It doesn't take in the whole consideration of what is actually required. So we're taking that clinical judgment and decision for documentation requirements and consolidating that before the pitter-pattering around, trying to get some level of relief for these documents. And they're not doing a good job at it. So we show them what we've built. It's purpose-built. Literally people are drooling on the phone when they see what we've built. It's pretty wild. It's like showing somebody fire for the first time.
Yes, I found it. Your eyes wide open. So let's say someone like here in San Diego has a small office, like 2 physicians, 4 people that are doing administrative, and you show them that they're going to increase their productivity by 70%. For those additional hours that are saved, are mostly people reaching out to people that are on the waiting list, doing quality control? What are staff doing with that time that you delivered?
Yeah, if they have waiting lists, absolutely see more patients. And then in addition, they can have their clinicians can have their license. They can spend more time with their patients, the ones that are there in the class. But realistically, the burnout rate's going to be so much less because these people are taking the work home and working until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Thanks so much for listening to Delmar Medical Devices podcast with Ross Young of Clinical Notes AI. For more information or to demo their incredible product, check out clinicalnotes.ai. Subscribe for the next episode or visit delmar.org to be added to our Substack.